What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Cal here from Buffalo SportsCenter. And, well, we had quite the rough ending to this Buffalo Bills season, but we made it all the way to the playoffs after starting 6-6. And today, we are going to be discussing a possible free agent target for the Buffalo Bills. Now, I'm going to be doing these videos occasionally throughout the offseason, and today's episode is going to be on Mike Evans. Now, I know what you're thinking. Mike Evans, big-time receiver, had huge stats for the Buccaneers the last 5 years. Why in the world would the Bills be able to get Mike Evans? He's going to cost a lot of money, right? And the Buffalo Bills, let's just say money is not going to be their friend this offseason. The Bills are already over the cap. Again, they could restructure some guys around, cut some guys, and make it work. But let's be real here. Mike Evans is probably not on the top of many people's list. But let me tell you how the Buffalo Bills can get Mike Evans and why this would help the Bills. First things first, obviously, the Bills have a receiver problem. I'd say that is the weakest position on the team. I mean, just through and through, this season was flagged by terrible receiving by the Buffalo Bills. Let's start at the top. Stefan Diggs. He had a good year, a solid year, but he was not the same Stefan Diggs we saw in years prior, right? He made some big catches, was there for Josh Allen when he needed him, but again, didn't show up in the biggest moments. The playoff game against the Chiefs, a prime example of that. Stefan Diggs, catch here and there, but overall, that's not what you need from your number one receiver. And Stefan Diggs had a tough challenge all season long because he was double-teamed a majority of games because of the lack of depth. Let's move down the wide receiver totem pole a little bit. Gabe Davis, most likely going to be gone unless the Bills can sign him to a cheaper deal. Again, money plays into this because the Bills don't have a lot of money. So Gabe Davis, most likely gone. Huge disappointment from him this year. I mean, he barely did anything, and he had a couple big games here and there, right? But overall, Gabe Davis was, pretty much not noticeable the entire year. Now, I get it, right? The Chargers game, he had that big play, and people are saying he still could be a deep ball threat, still good by the sidelines. And yeah, of course, he had that great game against the Chiefs in the divisional, the 13 seconds game, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, Gabe Davis has not been the receiver the Buffalo Bills need. So he's most likely gone. Another disappointment. So 2 for 2 on disappointments. Then let's go to Khalil Shakir. Shakir was not used enough this year. The first half of the season, he barely saw the ball. But when given an opportunity, Khalil Shakir showed that he can catch the ball at an extremely high rate. I think he was number 1 in the NFL at his catch percentage. It was around like 87%, which is very good for a receiver. And Shakir has shown he can do almost everything that Stefan Diggs can do already in his career, which is great. Now, I'm not comparing the two, but I'm saying maybe if Stefan Diggs moves on, after next season and everything goes to plan, Shakir can step up and be that wide receiver too. But I'm just not sure of it yet because Khalil Shakir, he's made some great catches, he's made some great plays, but he's far from proven, right? We don't want to overhype a guy before he has shown to us, everything he could do. You never know what could happen with Shakir. But, as far as things have gone with this Bills team, the top 2 receivers, huge disappointment so far this year. At least Shakir had a great finish to the year, and I have a lot of hope for him going forward into next season. And he might be your wide receiver too, unless you do get another top-end guy in free agency like Mike Evans. Now let's keep looking at receivers here. Let's look at the 2 guys they brought in this offseason, Hardy and Sherfield. Both of them massive disappointments. I mean, Hardy was barely used in the regular play. He was a punt returner, had that big punt return against Miami. Other than that, was a very bad punt returner. Didn't have any momentum, didn't have any big spark plays other than that big punt return. Which, kind of saved him at the end of the day, right? Because if you're going to get a punt return, that's pretty much all you could ask, 1 or 2 a season. But it's not like he was consistently getting big-time yards on these punt returns. He was always catching the ball. He would make a move or two, get a couple yards, but he was just not what we needed. Sherfield was absolutely horrible. I mean, I don't know what happened with Trent Sherfield, but, we go through the offseason, we get Sherfield, and all of a sudden, he's the talk of the town, right? Him and Allen are lighting it up in OTAs, lighting it up in mini camp, lighting it up in, training camp, all of that. And then we get to the season, and Trent Sherfield is not seen other than 2 games a year, both games against his former team in Miami, which, okay, I get it. He wants to have that revenge game against Miami, quote-unquote, and, okay, you scheme him because maybe he knows the Dolphins a little bit. but he's dropped so many balls this year when he's been given the opportunity, and he hasn't been on the field that much. And we did see more of him as we saw Gabe Davis go down with that injury, and Stefan Diggs throughout the middle part of the season, his snaps went from 90% to 60%. So Sherfield did step up into the lineup. But as far as production, he did absolutely nothing. So it was absolutely brutal to watch those two guys play in Buffalo this year. So again, two massive disappointments for the Bills. So the receiver position is looking very shaky. Then we go to Justin Shorter. The rookie, he did not play at all this year due to an injury. They could have activated him at the end of the year, chose not to. But, massive hopes for him. Again, it's a guy kind of like Shakir, but even worse in a sense that you don't know what you're going to get from him. His ceiling is huge, right? He's a physical, big receiver, tons of speed. I mean, I think this guy could definitely be a great receiver in the league. Him and Josh Allen could be a dynamic duo for years to come. But again, we're just talking what ifs, ifs, whats. At the end of the day, Justin Shorter has not shown anything on the NFL field, so you can't really slot him into that wide receiver 3 spot without even seeing him. I get wide receivers, rookie wide receivers come to the league every year, like Puka Nacua this year, who just had a fantastic year. But again, there's plenty of rookie wide receivers that are busts, that don't show up, that take 3 years to even, produce anything. Then we move to the tight end position. Dalton Kincaid had a great rookie year, don't get me wrong. But it could have been a lot better. They could have used him more. So hopefully next year they use him a little bit more. And then we look at Dawson Knox, who had just another disappointing year. Again, struggled with drops in the beginning of the season, then had that hand-wrist injury, came back, couple touchdowns towards the end of the year, but other than that, he just didn't get open. And that's the number one problem with these Bills receivers. They don't get open. They don't get any separation. And it's just the same thing, game after game after game. It's not so much even the scheme. Like, you can't even blame Ken Dorsey or Joe Brady. Nothing changed between those two. That was still a continuous problem with this Bills offense. Lack of separation. Mike Evans is a guy who gets open quite easily. He's got a ton of size, and I know it's going to be tough for the Bills to get him, but you got to, if you're Brandon Beane, you have to understand your mistake of last offseason not getting a wide receiver too. I mean, Stefan Diggs was clamoring to get a wide receiver number 2 like DeAndre Hopkins or someone like that to match up on the other side. Not only, does that hurt Stefan Diggs' productivity not having another receiver because he gets double teamed, but it hurts your team in general. And going into next season, the receiver position is very weak. So I think the Bills might do everything in their power to get a receiver, whether that be, first round in the draft or a top pick in free agency. And if they're not going to re-sign Gabe Davis, I think they might do everything in their power to get a guy like Mike Evans. That's my opinion. I know it's going to be very tough to do. And I don't think a lot of people are going to target Mike Evans to the Bills. I don't think that's going to be a big rumor. But if it does happen, that would be massive, not only for the Bills receiving core, but for Stefan Diggs. Because Stefan Diggs is at a point in his career where he's starting to fall off just a little bit, right? He's getting a little bit older, and he needs someone on the other side. He can't do it all by himself anymore. He can't break a double team. Again, he is the best separation on the team besides Shakir. But it still doesn't help. When you can shadow a guy and know that there's no other receiver on the other side besides in the slot, that is pathetic. That cannot happen for a team like the Bills that are Super Bowl, contenders year in and year out. So the Bills have to address the wide receiver problem, and that is why I think they are going to target a guy in free agency. Maybe not on the level of Mike Evans, but if they don't plan on drafting one, I think they're going to have to. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Again, I know we'd all love Mike Evans, but do you think the Bills will make a serious offer at Mike Evans? Do you think they'll make a serious stride to getting him? Let me know in the comments. Leave a like on this video, subscribe. And I'm going to be doing these throughout the offseason with different players, but this was just the first one that came to mind. So thank you guys for watching. If you've made it this far, again, let me know in the comments, and have a good day.